Within minutes, shooting began. Security footage shows the attackers sprinting from the beach toward the $400 a night hotel, and tourists in bathing suits seeking cover in hallways. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at what happened at Tulum Resort and what could have caused such an occurrence. Stay tuned. Without any further ado, let's dive right in. A Californian travel blogger was one of 2 foreign tourists killed at a restaurant in Mexico's Caribbean beach at the resort of Tulum during a shootout between suspected gang members. The 2 women killed were identified as Anjali Ryot, an Indian national who lived in San Jose, and a German national, Jennifer Henzold, though no hometown was immediately available for her. 2 German men and a Dutch woman were also injured during the shootout on late Wednesday, which was said by the district attorney's office in Quintana Roo State. Famed for its ancient Mayan ruins and turquoise water, Tulum is one of the country's top tourist destinations, but it has been shaken by turf wars between rival gangs. Initial investigations indicated the shooting in Tulum's Mini Quinta entertainment zone was quote-unquote an armed clash between criminal groups dedicated to the sale of drugs. The district attorney's office said that in a statement. One of the victims was killed at the scene and another died in the hospital, it added. Tulum's mayor, Marciano Dzul, told Miliano Television that victims had no known links to the criminals and appeared to have been caught in the crossfire, and that one of the alleged gunmen had been arrested. On Friday, the civic group Citizens Observatorio of Tulum posted photos of hand-lettered signs that appeared at a local market in Tulum, signed by a drug gang known as Los Pelones, roughly the shaved heads. The sign said the shooting was a warning, so that you know we mean business, adding, "You either get in line or we're going to continue shutting places down like the Mini Quinta," an apparent warning to pay extortion demands for protection money. The sign ended with, "We are in control here." Dzul acknowledged that Tulum was facing a wave of violence linked to rival gangs involved in drug dealing and extortion. That wasn't the only recent crisis that happened at the tourist center. On the morning of December 7th, 3 men riding ski jets opened fire on a group of people at Playa Longosta beach. It's a tourist spot in Cancun, according to news reports. No one here was injured or killed, but another attack in only a few weeks spiked a lot of anxiety among tourists. Tulum alone saw 65 homicides between January and September, which is an 80.5% increase compared to the same period last year, when just 36 homicides took place, according to statistics from Mexico's National System of Public Security. Mexican officials said that the recent spike in violence is a consequence of a turf war, quote-unquote, among a dozen local gangs looking to control the street drug dealing business. Oscar Montes de Oca, the state prosecutor in Quintana Roo, where Cancun and Tulum are located, said about 10 groups of drug dealers are fighting each other, but the reality could be a lot more complex. Quintana Roo very recently had local elections in 11 municipalities, including for mayor and most police chiefs. This could be a key factor in the uptick of armed attacks, according to Eduardo Guerrero, the director of Lantia, which is a Mexican consulting agency specializing in criminal organizations and security analysis. Guerrero told Insider most gang leaders had agreements in place with the leaving administration, and with a new chief of police, new mayors, and city officials, they are fighting to be the ones breaking a permissive deal that allows them to operate their illegal businesses freely. Currently, there are 6 gangs affiliated with major Mexican drug cartels operating in the region. The main criminal activities for these gangs are drug dealing, trafficking, extortion, human trafficking, and money laundering, according to a recent report by Lantia. Guerrero further went on to say that these gangs are fighting mostly for the beach area, where they want to operate freely, offering all sorts of drugs and businesses to tourists. Another hotspot for them is the main streets inside of the cities, clubs, and casinos. The gangs described in the report are Los Pelones, which broke away from the Gulf Cartel and is responsible for the most recent attacks in Tulum and Puerto Morelos. The gangs La Barradora and Los Compich are fighting against Los Pelones for Cancun, Tulum, and Puerto Morelos specifically. La Barradora is especially invested in generating business ties with local authorities and officials. El Cartel de Cancun, which operates as a branch of the Sinaloa cartel, is mostly responsible for the area of Benito Juarez and Isla Mujeres. On top of these gangs, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel has a strong presence through the alliances with local smaller gangs that once worked under Gulf Cartel and Los Zetas, according to the report. Guerrero said, "This could only explain a part of what's going on in Quintana Roo recently. Another big part of the presence of Romanian and Russian mafia operating mostly on money laundering and sex trafficking." In May, the Mexican government captured Romanian businessman Florian Tudor in Quintana Roo. Tudor is accused of being the leader of a Romanian mafia operating in several tourist hotspots in Mexico. Florian T. was captured by Mexico's Attorney General office complying with an extradition request by the Romanian government for allegedly being involved in organized crime, extortion, and homicide, the Attorney General's office said in a press release. Originally from Craiova, Romania, Tudor moved to Quintana Roo with several close family members in 2014. Adrian Inachescu, Tudor's stepbrother, opened a Delaware-based business with offices in New York and San Francisco, which were allegedly used to transfer money from illegal operations in Romania to Mexico, according to an investigation by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. The organization Tudor is accused of running, called the Riviera Maya Gang, was unique among European criminal groups in that Mexico was its base of operations. Florian built a network of politicians, businessmen, and criminals for more than 10 years that allowed him to operate massively in La Quintana Roo in Baja California Sur, Guerrero said. See, according to Guerrero, Tudor was so high up that even when he met with current Mexico's top police chief, Rosa Isela Rodriguez, by request of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Although he's in jail and faces several years behind bars, the same operation he's accused of running is still alive for the most part in Quintana Roo. It's the same as Mexican cartels. They captured the boss, but the organization is still operating under new leadership, said Guerrero. Last week, Mexico deployed 1,500 National Guard troops to Quintana Roo, basing in Tulum, to patrol tourist beaches. As with previous deployments, the soldiers in full gear among the tourists enjoying the beaches have received international attention. In recent weeks, some of the most famous destinations along Mexico's Caribbean coast have been alarming displays of violence. Still rare collisions between the country's profound security problems and its glittering tourist attractions. Many have pointed to those incidents as illustrations of Mexico's lawlessness, but Mexican officials say that critique fails to account for the way tourists' increasing demand for drugs has emboldened the cartels that sell to them. Lucio Hernandez Gutierrez, the security chief for Mexico's Quintana Roo state, said, "A major reason for the cartels being here is because of the large demand for drugs, especially among tourists. It's a very difficult thing to stop." The Tourist Protection Battalion has already arrested dozens of low-level drug dealers. Most are men from the surrounding states, some of the poorest in Mexico. Those dealers are being replaced almost immediately. Visitors walking down Playa del Carmen's Quinta Avenida, for example, are still greeted by a chorus of offers. "Hey amigo, wanna buy some weed, some coke?" Or the more subtle, "You wanna party?" with a finger pointing to the nostril. "We know it's not easy to turn off a supply as long as there's demand," Hernandez Gutierrez said. And that'll be it for today's video. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Later.